And China says its military has fully surrounded Taiwan for war games, with live fire drills taking place. Taiwan has responded by mobilising its troops to rehearse defence tactics. The war games come just days after Washington announced the largest ever weapons package for Taiwan, selling at more than $11 billion worth of weapons. Joining me now is our International Affairs Editor, Philip Turle. Philip, what are these Chinese military manoeuvres? I mean, more importantly, why are they happening now and what are they all about?
Okay, I think there are several messages that the Chinese are trying to send to the Taiwanese and the international community at the same time. The first one is that, yes, we can launch these kind of military maneuvers around Taiwan. Yes, we have the capacity to rein in Taiwan, to force it to become a part of the Chinese mainland. And yes, the international community should sit up and take notice of that we are not going to allow Taiwan ever to become totally independent of China. I think those are the three key messages the Chinese are trying to send. And I think the reason for that right now is also threefold. The first one, you mentioned it, was this enormous package that's been sent to the Taiwanese by the Americans, $11.1 billion worth of weapons, including long-range missiles, which, if Taiwan wants to use them, could hit the Chinese mainland. The second one is that the Chinese are pretty fed up with Taiwan's president, whose name is Lai Ching-te, who has been saber-rattling about independence for Taiwan, saying that the country is already a sovereign nation and therefore it doesn't need to formally declare independence because it already is independent. That's something that's gone down badly in Beijing. And the third one, which is not to be neglected, is the fact that Japan has also recently come out and said that if there is any Chinese attempt to take control of Taiwan, it would militarily intervene as well to protect the Taiwanese. So all of these are messages that the Chinese mainland is sending to the international community and the Taiwanese. It's not the first time they've done that, probably won't be the last. But the bottom line is that the Taiwanese themselves, they don't want to become part of China. They want to remain independent. They want a democracy. And I think that will be the hardest thing to convince them that they will better under Chinese rule than independent as they are at the moment.
It does appear that President Trump is playing a double game, with China attempting to, at the same time, sign business deals with Beijing, while also agreeing to sell more than $11 billion worth of arms to Taiwan. So what exactly is his objective?
Well, the Americans are bound by law to provide Taiwan with defensive weapons. Under the former US President Joe Biden, there was little doubt that the US would come to the aid of Taiwan in the event of a Chinese attack. We don't know exactly what Donald Trump would do if the Chinese were to launch a military assault on Taiwan. That is also playing into the hands of the Chinese because they're keeping an eye on what Donald Trump is doing in the US. I think what Donald Trump is trying to do here is basically two important things. The first one is he wants to sign trade deals with China. There's no doubt about that. He's made no bones about the idea that he wants to take advantage of the Chinese economy to boost the US economy, even though he's imposed tariffs on China. This $11.1 billion weapons program that has been signed between Taiwan and the Americans is like a way of trying to coax the Chinese to say, well, you know, we could do more business with you and maybe be a bit more hardline with Taiwan, but it's up to you to make the first move. That's something that the Chinese are really not going to take on board, I don't think. It's really a bargaining chip that Donald Trump is trying to use here. But we don't know, as I was saying, whether or not if there was an attack by the Chinese on Taiwan, whether the Americans would actually come to the defense of the Taiwanese.